So, what made you want to share your story on the Let Me Speak campaign tonight?
Because there's a lot of shame around sexual abuse, and I want to help people to normalise that kind of kōrero, and so that my trauma stops here and it doesn't go on to my babies.
Oh, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your life looks like today?
So I live in Opotiki. My 3 babies, I have twins, 2-year-old girl, my partner. Yeah, and we just live in Opotiki, related to the whole town.
Wow.
Yeah, my nana has like 20 siblings, so
Oh, that's a big family.
yeah, so we just,
Know everybody.
pretty much.
Get it. What's the jersey that you're wearing
Oh,
tonight?
so this is Jessica Tyson. She created Brave, the charity, and they go into schools and teach young ones about sexual violence, safe touch, consent. Yeah,
Awesome.
cool charity. They have a mean as Instagram page, and she's always active on there. I messaged her and she replied straight away. So she's an awesome advocate for sexual abuse. Yeah.
So, where does your story begin?
My story begins way before I was born. About 4 generations before I was born. Yeah. So my great grandmother married her 3rd husband, and he sexually abused what I know of 7 members of her family, including myself, my mum, and my sister, and 4 other members. So the sexual abuse, so I can't be sure of my great grandmother because I haven't had any, well, she died way before I was born, so I haven't had confirmation from her, but other family members have told me, like in my mum's generation, that she was sexually assaulted by him, by this one man.
So, this one man's done it to...
Yeah. 3, I know of 3 generations, and possibly the 4th. Oh, the first being my great grandmother. Not only our family, after my nanny passed away, he married another lady, and I know from their whānau, they have told me, he went and did that to their whānau. And when he passed away, there was just our family at the tangi. And his role that he had, as a kaumātua, people would go and see him, like a tohunga, to get rid of all their ghosts or whatever. So we will never know how many people he had access to, and the damage that he's done throughout our iwi, and possibly the couple of iwis next to us as well.
How do you think it was able to go on for so long?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. When you're a predator like that, you are the best mind game player in all of the world. And that's why I want to normalise talk, because they make you feel shame and they make you feel guilty.
How?
So my sexual abuse story starts when I was 7, in a little flat, maybe not much bigger than this room up to the front door. I was there one day and he said to me, come in, and I was like, oh, sweet as. Went on the other side of the wall. He pulled my pants down and just started performing oral sex on me. Wait, my mum, my sisters, and my aunt, my mum, my brother, sister, and my auntie were on the other side of the wall.
Wow.
So that, like, they're cheeky, they do it in plain sight. They can hide. They have these great tricks that they use. That's one of them. Another thing that...
When that happened, how were you feeling? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was like, just stunned. And my mum and them were on the other side of the wall, and I don't know why I couldn't call out. They were like just over there. There was no doorway, it was just a space, and I could have easily been like, Mum. I think my little sister probably would have done that because she was more stronger than me when we were children. So that's another trick, they use. They know who to target. They know who's going to say something, who's not going to say something. And anybody that knows my sister and I at that age, she was, fire, and I was like a little mouse. So, yeah, I haven't actually spoken with my sister what happened to her, but I'm just assuming that. So that's another trick he used. I'm going to talk about something that people don't usually talk about when it comes to sexual abuse. It's, I struggled with it for so many years. I'm 34 now. Last year I had a bit of a breakdown because I started feeling these feelings again. And it wasn't until my counsellor explained to me what they are. So, what he would do to me every day not every day, but most days for about 3 years of my life is that he would get me alone, he would take off my pants, take off my clothes, and he would just lick me from here to around about here. Sometimes it was for like a little while, then sometimes he would get me alone and take me back to his house, put me on the bed.
And how old were you?
7, and it finished around about 10, so 3 years. Yeah. And bearing in mind, he was like in his 80s by the time he got to me, or 75, 80. So age, again, people think, it's only young people that do that, but it's not. And that's what I mean. It can be anybody, any age. He wouldn't like penetrate me, but he would get on me and just like hump me. I know that sounds stupid, but that's what he would do. And even now to this day, I still feel, as a 7-year-old, that man getting off me. Yeah. So, but what he would do to me with the oral sex, that's another trick, because what people don't like to talk about is, as a 7 to 10-year-old, I liked it. Like, I enjoyed it. It got to the point where I started to like it. And then once it was done, I missed it. I wanted it to happen, but I didn't want it to happen. And I think this is where we, as sexual abuse victims, find it shame to, not all of us, but I know a lot of us, there's a lot of shame around coming forward to say, that's the guilt that lives in my head.
Where, but the confusion was, is it wrong if I actually am enjoying it? Yeah, so that was one of his best tricks, was making sure that I would come back for more. And making me, feel like you can't tell anyone. He must have known that by the time he got to me, because he had heaps of practice. And was it in any way violent?
No. Not at all.
And do you think that would play a part as well? Like, when you think about something being wrong, it hurts?
Yes.
But this doesn't hurt me?
Yeah, I totally think that. And because he would also say to me, like, so my dad's family from Ngāti Porou, they're pretty staunch people, like very, they speak everything. We would go to holidays down to Rotorua, meet halfway, like Waiho Bay, and my dad would drop us off there, and I'm like, no, I didn't want to leave my dad. My poor dad. And then we would get in the car, we'd stop at Hawaii and pick beechwood, and he would say to me, see, even your dad knows that you have to come back to your boyfriend. I'm your boyfriend and he gives you to me, so we can carry on. Hey, I'm your boyfriend, eh? That's what he would say to me. So this is why I feel he was so successful as the sexual predator, because he just had all these tricks up his sleeve. They were like, there was no way I was going to win. No way. Because I wasn't brave enough to say anything. Whereas I hope my sister was. Another trick he would use, so he would separate me from the strong people in my family.
Isolate.
Yeah, isolate, that's the one. And that was the type of kōrero he would use all the time. Like, if my sister and my brother and I were down there, like, and I don't want people, like, it's not my mum's fault either, because she lived with him, so she was whāngai by him, and she lived with him from day 2 to however old she was when she left home. So he had all that time to do the exact same things to me, to her, but I got to go home. My mum was there stuck with him. So a lot of people will say, why didn't you say anything? Or why didn't you tell your mum? Or why didn't your mum do anything? She couldn't. She was dealing with her own trauma, her own guilt, and then add my stuff on top of it. What is she supposed to do? And it's these things, you know, those pleasure pathways that they mess with and make you feel like you're paru and you're yucky. That's what stops a lot of us from speaking. Yeah. Well, the people that I've spoken with anyway, is that that they're really good at messing with your brain. Like, it's pretty.
And especially if he's done it for so long with so much of your whānau.
Yeah. So he knew that. I mean, like, take his tangi for example. When he died, there was hardly anybody there, and then a lot of remarks I got after that. Oh, I knew he was dirty. I knew he was yuck like that. I knew he was, and it's like, nah, I don't want to hear that. You know, if you know someone's dirty and yucky, then say, nah, don't come to my house. Or, you know, if he goes to the marae or he goes to the whatever, sorry, you can't come here. Because us, like, we have to sit in the corner and be hidden away, or we're not allowed to live our lives. He gets to still carry on being, you know, this tohunga or whatever, people coming to him for help, and everybody knows he's doing this yucky stuff. Before it happened to me, I was not told that he was like that.
Does that make you mad and angry?
It used to make me really mad, and it used to make me angry. I hated my mum, I hated my family. But I've learnt through my counsellor in Whakatane, I'm just going to say her name, Kirsty Britton, she is the best. She has educated me about what has happened in my mind. So she's given me not only tools, but the names of the things that have happened to me. So because I know what he did to me in my head, I now have sympathy for my mum and anybody else in a generation above me in my whānau, and I understand why they couldn't speak.
When did you come out with what had happened to you?
So
how did that happen?
I was lying on the couch, and my mum was in her bedroom, and she said to me, "Is Koro doing silly things to you?" Because she went on to tell me that I went like introvert. And like I was so scared of everything, I used to shit my pants. Like I would go to school and just the teacher would ask me a question, and I was like too scared to even speak at school. So when she said, "Is Koro doing silly things to you?" I was like, "Oh, no." And she's like, "It's alright, you can tell me. Like, if he is, I can stop it. Because I know that he does that silly stuff." And then I just broke down. And then my relationship with my mum from then till, from that age, till maybe 6 or 7 years ago. For about 20 years was just nah.
Why?
Because when she said, I know that he does silly stuff, I was like, well, why didn't you tell me? Or why didn't you, protect me, or, whatever. All those ugly feelings I had in my head. But now, as an adult, I understand why she's done that. And people might say, oh, you're making excuses for her, but it's not until you've had that happen to you. And bear in mind, she had no one to go to, because the generation above her was sexually abused by him too. So who was she going to go to? She tried her hardest with me, and I'm grateful for that now. And yeah, I hope that one day she gets to feel how I feel now after my healing journey that I've been on. I hope.
And what's that been like?
Oh, amazing. It's like last year in 2020, I had a huge breakdown because, I had a nightmare, and I was like, oh my gosh, babe, I liked my sexual abuse. I'm gross. I'm disgusting. Like, I'm paru. And I was sitting, I would sit like this in the corner. And I knew then that the sexual abuse had stopped, but the trauma was still, I was like, our family was on a merry-go-round, at the bottom of a hole, and we were just going round and round and round, and we were all just dizzy. So if I wanted the trauma to stop at me and not affect my children, then I had to, get off this bloody merry-go-round and start climbing out of the hole that I was in. And he was like, oh, my partner was like, it's all right, babe. Like, of course you would have liked it. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, him and his family, actually, have been my biggest help. I don't know if that makes sense. But they are the ones that have been teaching me to just start talking about it. So I've been with my partner for 10 years now. And maybe 2 years into the relationship, or maybe even one, I told him. And he actually was the reason that my sister found out about what happened to me, because I didn't tell her.
How come?
I don't know. I think I was ashamed. I was shy. And I was scared. And just all that stuff in my head, I was too ashamed to tell her. And I didn't want her to be like, oh, like she's my little sister. I need to look after her, not the other way around.
Did he ever say to you not to tell anyone? Did he even need to?
No, he didn't ever say, don't tell anybody. He would just say, this is what you're meant to do. I'm your boyfriend. You do this for me. That's what he used to say. I don't know what he would have said to anybody else, but that's what he said to me. He did say one time, if you tell anybody, like your brother and sister will get hurt. I do remember him saying that. But he never said, don't tell anybody. It was like he knew I wasn't anyway. Yeah, he was a tricky.
Did that experience, do you think that had, that fucked up any future relationships that you had? I can't think of any other way to say it.
No, that's all right. It does. Like, my partner and I now, he's very, I'm so grateful, and I'm glad that he understands me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm full on, so I've been diagnosed with PTSD and major depression disorder. When my PTSD is flaring, I'm in the corner like this. In panic attacks to the point where my throat bleeds and there's blood in my mouth. I literally, after it, get sick. It feels like I've got the flu. It's like my brain has just been pounding for
Does something bring that on, or?
Yep, smells. So that's why I always have these oils. So if I smell Port Royal cigarette, over.
Is that a trigger from
the
trauma?
Yeah. Smells. when I see I shouldn't say this, old men wearing cowboy hats, that triggers me. The smell of hot leather. Like when I'm triggered, I go straight back. Straight, like,
to that,
yeah, to that
7-year-old
yeah. And there's two specific places I go back to. One time when I was on the bed for maybe an hour, and another time when I was in the car and it was nighttime driving around, and he's just pulled my pants down driving around town. And it's what's going on in my head. I'm like, why can't I just stop you? Like, you're old, I can probably break you.
Is that what you would think?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking in my head. So a lot of people have said that they remove themselves from the event.
Yeah. And
that's how I used to remove myself, by talking to myself, like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Like, whack him with the broom, do something.
And then do you feel as though by the time you kind of finished having that big thing, and it might have been over by then?
Yeah. Yeah, and then come back to earth, and it's just like, I didn't like that, but I did.
Do you feel as though, fucking hell, what's going on?
Just say it, it's all good.
No, I can't remember. Fuck, I've got so many things going through my head.
Just ask any questions, because of the healing process that I've been through. I'm not ashamed to speak about what's happened to me. I'm not ashamed to admit that I liked it. I'm not ashamed to admit that I was scared, all those kinds of things.
What did your counsellor say about you liking it, or about,
She said that's normal. She said, so it's called, like, when people, like, doesn't matter what age you are, you still feel that pleasure, and it's called a pleasure pathway. So when you're a child, you still feel the same what an adult does, and that's what they use to keep you coming back for more. They mess with your pleasure sensories because they know that even though you're a kid, it still feels nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So he knew that, because even at old man, can't remember exactly how old he was, he knew how to still, have a child on his, pretty much. He knew what to do. Yeah.
Have you spoken to any of the other whānau that's happened to, with their experiences?
No, I haven't spoken to them about it. None of them have started their healing journey, and it's still mamae for them. Yeah.
Did you feel like this must be normal? Because it's happening so... This is what I was going to fucking say before. Was there any part of you that was thinking, this must be normal, this must be happens to girls my age?
Yes, I did think that. And but I thought that was my normal, but I knew that it didn't happen to everybody else, because I knew it wasn't happening to my friends at school, because they had relationships with old men. Like, I went to school in Portugal, and every year we would have Grandparents' Day, and I knew my friends, like, they had their pops or their grandfathers, whatever, kuros come, and they would be, they would hug them.
Yeah.
And like me now, even now, when I see an old man do this to a kid, it triggers me.
Yeah.
Because my relationship with an old man was just sexual abuse. Sexual. I lie. I did hear before I moved to Portugal, I lived in Rotorua, and I knew one koro, and he's the only koro that I ever had a real koro moko relationship with. Yeah. So that was, I think we moved to Portugal when I was about 6.
Did you ever wonder if any of your friends at school were going through what you...
Yeah, I did often wonder, and I even tried to tell one of them once, like, does any man, like, ever do anything silly to you? And then you can tell by the reaction straight away, even as a child, when they're like, no,
yeah,
you know straight away, like, oh, You're like, why? Hurt does nah, nothing.
Make you feel different straight away.
Yeah, so you know if they're not like shame or guilty like how you're feeling and they react like that, then you know that they aren't going through the same thing as you.
Did you ever get an opportunity to confront him?
I didn't, but I'm going to be about 13, I think, and I was putting away the groceries, and he like swiped my head. So I was 13 and he was still trying, my mum had, when I told my mum what had happened, she went to him and said, don't do that anymore. But he still kept his space in our whānau because of the control he had over my mum. So I think she lived with him until she was about 17 or 18. So she was groomed for 18 years. This is why my poor mum, she, I'm only assuming from my experience with him, but my poor mum, she didn't have a chance. Not from 2 days old to... Yeah.
And did she say that that's what she went and told him?
Yeah, she did, yeah. But back to me packing the groceries away, he's like... And I just gave him the best jab I've ever given anybody.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, high five. Fuck, get it.
It felt so good, honestly. And when he died, we were like...
Aye.
Yeah, me and one of my aunties were like... And that's how I knew she was a victim. Because she didn't care. Well, she did care, but not how she should have cared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your counsellor...
Yes.
She's awesome.
She is amazing. I feel sorry for people when they say their counsellors are dumb. I went to counsellors and they didn't help me with anything, because my counsellor from August to now, from this in the corner
to this,
sitting here,
sharing.
Yeah. She's... Yeah.
And what does she talk to you about?
Everything.
Because a lot of people that I have talked to, even counsellors from when I was going through my addiction, was just come in, I do all the talking, no tools, get the fuck out.
So I rang ACC, and she called me the very next day. She's like, "Kia ora, darling." She's Irish, she's, talks like Super Nanny. She's bright white. She's got blonde as hair, and she's like, "Kia ora, darling." And because my name's Tuakana, she's like, "Oh, is this your Tuakana? Says it better than me." I'm like, "Oh, who's this Super Nanny lady ringing me can speak better Māori than me?" She's like, my name's Kirsty Britton. I'm a counsellor from ACC. They've, would you like to come and meet me? And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. You sound like Super Nanny. Yeah, I'll come." Went into her office. She was like, so this type of lighting, she refuses. It has to be dim lighting.
Oh, yeah.
Her office is set out. She has all these kinds of smelly things, poofy cushions. So right from the get-go, she's on. She already, Then she gets to know you first. She doesn't rush you. How was your day? Do you want to talk about, she does the exact opposite to what I've heard on the other lives.
Yeah.
Exact opposite. If I could clone her, I would clone her 5 million zillion times.
Yeah.
Because we need more people like her. She is the bomb.
So what does that process look like when you want to...
ACC
Yeah,
process?
I don't know.
So for me it's been easy. I know a lot of people have had difficulty with it. So I had a breakdown. I actually called one of the lines that you've got tagged. I can't remember if it was Healthline or something like that. And she said ring ACC because they can help you. So I rang ACC. I actually Googled a number, sensitive claims, and a direct number came up. And I've not been able to find it since for other people that want to do this journey. So I called ACC. Lucky again, a really nice lady answered, "Oh, that will be in touch in a couple of days."
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay, thank you. Then Kirsty rings.
What is that for?
Counselling. So, so you, ACC help you get a counsellor and you lodge a sensitive claim, it's called.
So if somebody experienced that and they want to, like, if they're watching and they want to do something about it, is that the steps that they would take?
Yeah. So the only number that I've been able to find is ACC sensitive claims. It's an 0800 number. And, I haven't been through that process. But one of our ladies in our PM groups has gone to her doctor and asked to be referred to ACC for counselling. I don't just have a counsellor through ACC. I have a rongoa lady, any other types of therapies like that might be helpful to me.
And that's the government assisting
you with government all these resources. Yeah, there's a lady Jojo that comes to our town, comes to Whakatane. I do all my stuff in Whakatane, which is about a 30-minute drive. ACC pays for the fuel for me to get to and from my appointment. Kirsty again, every time I visit, she logs it on my petrol forms.
Did you have to go to the police at any stage?
No, I didn't. By the time I sought help, he was already passed away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 34 now. He passed away when I was 21. Yeah.
And you've had to just live with all that trauma for all those years?
Yeah, until last year. I thought, so I had my kids for 5 years ago, for the twins, and I thought I was all good, but I wasn't even. Now when I look back at it, like I couldn't even wash my babies' vaginas. Like I felt like a pedophile. But I was lucky with my partner. I could tell him that, like, oh babe, I feel uncomfortable. I would go like this. Oh, I'm sorry, my babies, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it stays with you for, even now, like the little baby. No. And I've actually taught my twins, so they're 5, and I told them no one is to touch your vagina, only Nan, so my partner's mum, is allowed to touch you there. Because sometimes I feel people are like, only this one, only that one, only so-and-so, and the list is too long. So I only trust my mother-in-law. And they say, oh yeah, hey, only Nan's allowed to touch our vagina. And if anybody touches you, you tell mum. If mum's too busy and doesn't listen, then you tell dad. And they say, yeah, dad doesn't want to listen, we're going to tell Nan and koro ai. I said, yes. And if they're too busy, you say, mum, I need to talk to you, please. So we've done this. My sister's done this with her children too. They're 12 and 13, or 13, 14 now. Yeah, kids need to know. Like, people are quite apprehensive of telling their kids. My 5-year-olds know everything that has happened to me. Well, not the words, but when Mummy was little, someone touched Mummy's vagina, and now I have a broken brain.
Is that how you explain it?
That's how I explain it to them. Well, yeah. And it was funny when I told my twins that, one of them, who's very forward, was like, why didn't Nanny and Papa teach you that no one's allowed to touch your vagina? They should have said that to you when you say that to me. And I was just like, yes, here we are. Yeah. That's the prevention of sexual abuse. Normalising kōrero, teaching your kids. Well, that's my prevention anyway.
Yeah,
that's you. It's reality, eh? Because
did you get that when you were younger?
No, I didn't. No, I only remember hearing it once at primary school when I was about 5 or 6. That if somebody touches you, it's not your fault. That's all I remember the lady saying. So that's why I like Jess's program, Brave, because it's in the schools. Yeah, I think we can do better when it comes to programs in the schools, or even just at home. Normalising, making it normal. I remember another time I tried to tell my nanny down the coast. She said, oh, how's Korohewe? And I said, oh, shit, sorry, I just said his name. Oh, I don't like him, Nan, he's scary, he scares me. Well, my nanny's thought went straight to, it's alright, tohunga job. His job is scary, but it's alright, you just have a karakia, pray to God, because God's tougher than the ghost and he'll look after you. So she thought I meant scary, heebie-jeebie scary. So because she kind of cut me off, not her fault, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, Nan, yeah, okay. You know, because she had told me, he's a good man, he's okay. Yeah. So I knew it wasn't normal, but I knew it made me feel like, oh, no one's going to believe me. Because he's a good man. He looks after all these people. He goes to the marae and reads this blue book, and heaps of people are there, and heaps of people come rub their coins on him. Not their fault. They didn't condone his behaviour. This is what I mean, is when someone is a predator like this, we can only blame him. We can't blame anyone else around him, because he's the one that chose to do that to us. And I'm a firm believer of that. And for me, it's helped me to heal.
In a way, that's taking advantage of the position in the community.
Yeah. And like you hear a lot of people, church people, school teachers, they know where to go.
They're trusted members in the community.
And where there's a playground of all these little kids, they know where to put themselves. They know, they know their game better than anybody. Yeah. Out of it,
Hard out.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that experience has just made you super hearty on your kids? And who's around your kids?
No, I don't, because... See, I grew up in a household, no drinking, no partying. I don't even remember... I think I remember my mum going out once before I was a teenager. He's an old man. So for me, I'm not super protective of my children. I'm super normalizing kōrero all the time. If somebody wants to talk about sexual abuse, don't hide anything from my children. I mean, don't say he did this and he did that, but find language that's suitable for their age and normalize it. So if it happens to them, they're like, oh sweet, that's not normal, I can tell.
Yeah.
That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, no, hard. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, that's pretty much it. But I do want to thank my, got some whareira ora kids in Opotiki. They're going through the same journey as I have. And those two girls they blow my mind, They're doing what I'm doing now at a young age. Their whānau has done what every whānau should do. They've stepped up, they've supported these girls, they've wrapped all the services around them, they've done it together as a whānau, and that is the example that we should be following. First of all, normalising kōrero. Second of all, when it comes up, do something about it. Remove the perpetrator and put hold the victim up a little bit.
Yeah.
Give them back their mana, whatever, integrity. Yeah.
How important is that?
Oh, so important to deal with it right then and there. Otherwise, we get these adults like me, drunken, doing silly stuff. I mean, I can imagine that's why people get addicted to drugs, kill themselves. I'd never have done any drugs, because I can't even handle Nurofen, Panadol, 2 Nurofen, I'm conked out. But mine was drinking.
To mask it.
Yeah. So if that's one piece of advice I want to give people, is normalise sexual abuse kōrero in your home and give the victims the support they need straight away.
What can you say about whānau out there being afraid to utilise resources such as counselling and...
My friend, that's why I wanted to talk about all this pleasure sensory, all the guilt and all the shame, because that's what stops a lot of people, and it's normal. It's every effect, everything that happens to you as a consequence of sexual abuse, all those feelings of shame, guilt, whatever, they're all normal. So I have my journey, my healing path set out. Some people, like, I read and study the Bible as well. That's another thing that has helped me. You'll be amazed what's in the Bible. Some people have a good friend that they confide in. I know a lot of people look to you and like some of the things that you've said. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that applies to me as well. I've been lately going to a group that helps people heal from meth for help for my trauma. Nothing to do with addiction. Find what suits you. A friend of mine, Jojo, she's like a lady that is part of my healing team. She always tells me, put your hand on your heart. I'm safe in my body. You know, I'm not that little kid anymore. Try and find some, because ACC might not work. You know, you might not like that counsellor. I've had 5 counsellors, and it took for Kirsty to be the right one. But there is a way to heal. We just have to stop being shame.
Yeah.
That's what holds us back. Being shame, being shy, being guilty. Like, oh, I like my sexual abuse. I'm so
Did you ever feel like at any stage that it was your fault that was happening to you?
Yeah, because I couldn't say anything. And I knew it was paru. I knew it was, not paru, but I knew it wasn't normal. I knew it shouldn't be happening to me. But then there's that confusion of, but it's nice. Well, will I get in trouble because I liked it? You know? Because you grow up, and when kids are watching TV and the man and the lady have a kiss and your parents are like, don't look.
Yeah.
So you know straight away, if I'm a man and a lady is doing something like that, it's paru. Or you shouldn't be doing that. So yeah, that's another thing I do with my kids. I'm like, I just turn the channel and say, you're not old enough for that right now. Yeah, so I'm very particular about sexual things with my children so that they, if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't try and say, ooh, yuck.
Yeah, it's a clear cut.
It's not now.
Yeah. Alright, well, just to wrap up our kōrero, tonight you have bravely raised awareness, you have courageously educated the masses, and with all your strength you've paved the way for others to take back their power by speaking up. On behalf of all of those who have listened tonight, including myself, just want to say thank you very much and wish you nothing but the best on your journey of healing.
Thank you.